first episode of the Movie Brothers. I'm Ant, and this is Kev, and we'll be bringing you nothing but the real on the real. We appreciate you taking the time out to hang out with us for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
We recognize that you could be doing a lot of different things right now, so kicking it with us for a few minutes is very much appreciated.
Ant and I are long-term film buffs. We love movies. We love everything about the process of filmmaking. We love chopping it up, talking about it.
Absolutely.
So we want to take the opportunity to chop it up with you for a little bit and give you a more pigmented perspective, that maybe you wouldn't get from your average Siskel and Ebert type review.
Absolutely. And so, basically we're bringing you film critique from a black perspective because we do happen to be black.
Are you sure?
I think so. Last time I checked. Last time I got pulled over, So we're going to be bringing you that unique perspective, and most importantly though, man, we are fans, film fans, so we want to share that with you. We hope you enjoy it. We're going to review 2 films for you, and we're going to give you that recommendation on whether you should or should not see it.
Right.
And we'll keep it moving.
Absolutely.
So for today's episode, we got 2 movies that we're going to review for you. We got The Family, and we also have Riddick.
Okay.
And so with that said, we're going to jump right in. And so the first movie we're going to review is The Family.
Right.
The Family is a rated R movie, has a runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes, and it's a comedy/action movie. And basically it's about a mafia family who has been relocated to Normandy, France by the Witness Protection Agency. They've had a history of not being able to fit into new environments, if you want to put it like that.
So they go to Normandy. They
yes,
go to France.
Out of all places, they go to Normandy,
places.
France. And this new location, Normandy, proves to be equally as difficult as their previous experiences. So this movie has been directed by Luc Besson. You may know his work by the likes of Colombiana or The Fifth Element, which happens to be one of my favorite movies, sci-fi movies. It has an all-star cast. You have Robert De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, and also Tommy Lee Jones. So with that said, let's take a look at the trailer, and we'll kick this thing off.
The only real question we should ask ourselves during our existence is, how much is a man's life worth? Me, I'm worth $20 million, and I'd hand over every last dollar to get my old life back.
Does anybody know what this place is called?
Normandy.
Do we still have the same names?
No, we are the Blake family.
Welcome!
You know where I might find him? You know what's going to happen to you and your family when they find you. We're here to make sure that don't happen, right? Try not to make my job impossible.
The best is hiding out in Normandy.
What's your line of work?
All right, so Kev, we're just going to jump right into this thing, man.
Let's do it.
I was a little disappointed, and maybe little is putting it nicely, but I was kind of disappointed by The Family. We got Robert De Niro in here, right? And in this movie, De Niro is De Niro.
Yeah.
He's an actor, and he acted.
That's pretty much the most you can say about it. I mean, Robert De Niro has made a career out of playing these mafioso type of characters, guys who are as quick with their words as they are with their trigger fingers. But the bottom line is that he could play this role in his sleep, and quite often it feels like he is asleep in this movie. This is not a stretch for him in any shape, form, or fashion. This is basically the type of movie that he always does.
Yeah. And, it's not that he did a bad job, but it was just kind of like he does what he does, and that's what he did in this movie. A similar situation for Michelle Pfeiffer, which she gave a decent performance, with the exception of this terrible Jersey accent.
That accent was bothering you, wasn't
Jersey
it?
accent was just it was about as bad as how I just said that, but it was pretty annoying kind of having to put up with that. But other than the accent, she's a great actress, and I think she did an okay job in this film.
She did a serviceable job in what ultimately is a pretty bad film. She did a movie a couple of decades ago called Married to the Mob, where she did some of the same things in that particular film. She did it much better in that film than in this film. But I think she's pretty underappreciated as an actress. But she's still, not even her attempts and Robert De Niro's attempts are enough to save this thing.
Yeah, yeah. If there's one highlight, if I had to give you guys about in terms of acting performances, I would have to give it to Tommy Lee Jones. I think, you know, in a previous life or something, he had to have been in law enforcement. In this film, he plays an FBI agent, does a phenomenal job, just like in any other movie he's been in, where he's either a military man or a cop, an agent, or something.
You can take it back to Men in Black. You can take it back to The Fugitive. You can take it back to any number of films that he's done in the past where he's been a cop. I mean, he just has the procedural thing down pat.
Yeah, got it down pat. And this film was no different. So that was a highlight. It was a breath of fresh air for me to be able to see him do his thing in this movie. So that was a big plus.
Right.
You know, as I mentioned earlier, this movie, I guess, coined as a comedy / action thriller. And we got a big problem here because I think the director, Besson, could not figure out whether he was doing a comedy or action movie. He did not blend it.
This is one of the most schizophrenic movies that I've seen in a long time. It has no idea what its personality or its identity is. Yeah. Is it a comedy? Is it a thriller? And, you know, I got no problem with the fact that it was R-rated. I got no problem with violence in a comedy. But the thing is that you need to know, if you're going to have violence, you're going to feature violence prominently in a movie, it kind of has to make a connection to the comedic elements as well.
Right. And
the violence can be so jarring in this film that it kind of takes you out of what you were just laughing at 30 seconds before.
Right.
So it's really weird. This film really has no idea what it wants to do or what it wants to be.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, if I had to sum it up, I'd say maybe he was going for a dark comedy. But what happens is when you don't have the funny, you just got irreverence.
Right.
And so you have all of these irreverent things happening in the movie, and without it being funny, I mean, if it was funny, you could kind of pull that off. But without the funny, it just ends up being in poor taste.
Exactly. It just connects you to nothingness.
Right.
Okay? Really what it all boils down to. You've got a lot of different elements in this film working together to no grand design. Okay, and so that's really what it all boils down to, is that you don't know what type of movie you're trying to watch or who you should be rooting for, or if you should be rooting for anyone at all.
No doubt.
Okay, so that was my take on it. Having said that, you got ready to throw some points on this thing?
Yeah, let's throw some points on this. You know, the movie's rated R. You will rarely hear me, if ever, say this, but in this particular case, I think it probably could have been bumped down to a PG-13 by reducing the amount of violence in the movie and maybe spending some more time focusing on the comedy. And with that said, you know, I give this movie a 5 out of 10.
And you guys got to understand, for Ant to say that a movie should not be rated R, that is a huge thing
to tone
for
down
him.
the violence.
To tone down the violence. Ant is a proponent of guns and bullets. Okay, but I believe.
Hey man, I don't have the FBI investigate me. Start tapping my phone.
I get you, but I agree with you 100%. This movie would have been served better if it had been PG-13. Tone down the violence, tone up the comedic elements, and play that up a little bit more. And I think Luc Besson would have had something more akin to a winner on his hands. As it stands, you know, he couldn't figure out how to wrap his violent roots into this new particular type of genre that he's toying with here.
Yeah. All right, folks, there you have it. All right, so for our next movie we're going to review is Riddick, and Riddick is rated R. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 59 minutes. This is an action sci-fi flick, kind of carrying on through the Riddick trilogy.
Right.
So many of you may have seen Pitch Black or the Chronicles of Riddick. So Riddick basically picks up from there and continues on.
Right.
This movie is basically we find Riddick left for dead on an almost dead planet, and Riddick finds himself fighting for his life against aliens, of course, but also bounty hunters.
Right.
It's directed by David Twohy. And if you've seen any of the previous Riddick movies, you've seen his work. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess depending on which one. It's starring Vin Diesel, of course. And also we got surprised, maybe I shouldn't say surprised, but we get to see Bokeem Woodbine in this movie.
That is a surprise. Where has Bokeem Woodbine been?
Because maybe it was the last time I saw him, Jason's Lyric or something.
Yeah, probably
it's been a minute.
affecting a very bad Houston accent.
Yeah. But we got Bokeem Woodbine in this movie, who is a great actor, and so I was glad to see him in here. And then we also got a little cameo by Carrie Hilson, the R&B singer.
Right.
So let's take a look at the trailer.
Don't know how many times I've been crossed off the list and left for dead. So this ain't nothing new. Bounty hunters.
Hold him down.
What is happening?
Time's up.
All right, Kev. So, man, where do I start? I know where I'll start. If you ever walk into a movie theater,
Okay.
and you're the only person there, that's probably not a good sign. And that's what happened to me in this case when I went to go see Riddick. I was the only person in the theater, and I probably should have known that was not a good sign. And actually, it's kind of, I don't know if anybody has ever been in a movie theater by themselves, but it was kind of creepy, man. I almost thought about bailing. I was like, nah, I can't. I like, man, I need to man up. I can't punk out like that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I had to settle myself and go ahead and check it out.
Hey,
but,
you know what? Generally, if you walk into a theater and you're the only one in there, you might want to check and make sure what kind of theater you actually stumbled into.
Right.
What kind of film were you there to see?
Yeah,
Make sure
man.
you don't have some weird guy sitting in the back in a trench coat or something like
Yeah,
that. You
yeah, we
just
would-
never know. All right.
So we would have had a real problem there.
Yeah.
But bottom line, this movie was terrible. Okay, in all aspects, it was stir fried. You know what? I ain't gonna say a word. It was poor production, and if you ever saw the old Dave Chappelle skit, man, where he like does everything in slow motion, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like some of the music videos where you play it in slow motion, it's kind of fly.
Slow motion does not make everything look cool, does it?
It does not. Sorry, Dave. There is, you get that slow-mo action fight scenes and stuff going on, but it does not come off very well. And sometimes it's like almost, you see Vin Diesel flying through the air with a knife or a blade. I'm like, why is he in the air? I don't know. He's just like in the air.
Yeah,
It
just
was
in the
just
air
weird.
because it's supposed to look cool in slow motion,
Right.
but it doesn't.
There's a scene in the movie, man, where he gets on this motorcycle, and the guy asks him, does he know how to ride it? And he looks at the guy, he's like, I'm gonna ride it like I stole it. I'm not making this up, yo. He said I'm gonna ride it like I stole it. Now I don't know what exactly that means, but stuff like that. So, bottom line, the movie was bad for no reason. Kev.
I'm not gonna be as hard on this film as Ant. Was it a good movie? Absolutely not. But let's be honest, do you go to a Vin Diesel movie expecting a masterpiece? No, you don't. Okay. The 2010s has been like a resurgence of the meatheads. Okay.
Well, I thought you said you're not gonna be as harsh.
No, I'm serious.
Continue.
Okay, but I mean, you got Stallone coming back. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back. Everybody in the Expendables. Okay, Van Damme coming back. Okay, this has been the return of the meatheads in meathead cinema.
Right.
And so Vin Diesel is kind of leading the charge on that. In this particular movie. And I was a fan of Pitch Black. Pitch Black was a very well-made film. I like what David Twohy did with that film. Chronicles of Riddick, it kind of went downhill a little bit. It went from R-rated to PG-13 rating and kind of trimmed back on the violence and everything. Because I guess they thought they were going to be aiming towards a wider audience. Didn't really happen because the movie made like $5. Okay, this movie is really not very well made. and you're going to fall into one of two camps. You either are a Vin Diesel fan because you like Riddick, or you are a Vin Diesel fan because you like Vin Diesel in the Fast and the Furious movies, and it's basically the same Vin Diesel in either
Pretty much,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no real stretching to go from one character to the next. Okay. This is just really not a good movie, Ant.
Right, man.
I don't really know what to say. I know where you're going rating wise. I can't go that low with you.
I haven't even thrown my points on it yet.
I know, you don't even have to. You don't even have to. I already know where you're going with your points. But having said that, let's throw some points on this.
Let's do it.
All right. I find myself torn. Okay. I give this movie 2 different scores. One.
Hey.
Now I'm sorry. I know. I'm cheating.
Okay.
But I give this
2
movie
scores,
2
okay.
scores. If you are a Vin Diesel fan, I would give this movie probably a 6. If you are into the whole mythology of the Riddick series, I would give this movie a 6. If you have never seen a Riddick movie before in your life, okay, and you're not particularly a Vin Diesel fan, I will give this movie a solid 4.
Okay. All right. I'm going to be real quick here. Bottom line, the movie was bad for no reason. And I got 1 score.
For no reason.
I got 1 score, 2 out of 10. Sorry.
Ouch.
But yeah, so that's what it is. That's our show. Thank you for hanging with us. We are the Movie Brothers, bringing you the real on the real. Peace.